Hi, let's start without makeup. My name is Lisa D'Amato, and I'm America's Next Top Model All-Star winner. Was on Cycle 5 as well. I know that people, the fandom, have a real problem with actual facts and like to just judge, and that's a lot of reason why a lot of the girls with trauma don't come forward. All the girls and boys had to sign contracts that said that if they said anything about production publicly or to each other, they can get sued for millions of dollars. What the girls don't know, and of course we're signing it, like why would we talk about production? But the girls also don't know that those contracts are voided when the recording of these programs are done unethically. Void. I came forward about production right after filming America's Next Top Model Cycle 5 on E's True Hollywood Story on America's Next Top Model. And I was like, if they sue me, what are they gonna do? I have nothing. They can't take anything. I realized from that point forward, after I didn't get even threatened with a lawsuit, that they don't give a shit at all. So if you wanna line up my stories, go for it. From 2000, whatever, 5. So here goes. Let's continue also in letting you guys know that I don't want anything. I don't need anything. I live a beautiful life. I'm married with 2 beautiful kids, and I'm just coming forward so that people understand how disgusting the industry is and how far they will go to ruin your life. Also, I'm incredibly successful, so I don't need people to say that I'm out here for money and to like create lies. Obviously, you don't know who I am. I don't know anyone realer than me. In fact, it's really annoying and lonely. So anyway, let's start with trauma. If anyone has gone through trauma, you know that it is very familiar once you're in it, and it's very easy to go back because it's familiar. And your self-worth goes down and you just get used to it. That being said, I don't think that anyone is in a league like Tyra. She is the queen of abuse. Queen. I feel blessed to even be here to tell you the story after 10 years of therapy. Truly. So thank you for listening to my story. And I also know that the fandom, how are you supposed to know what happened, because it's all behind the scenes. But please don't judge it until you hear. Let the girls have some space to tell their stories. I always have a problem with my right. Ooh. Okay, here goes the Tyra Show. A producer from the Tyra Show calls me, and I am already very adamant and do not want to go on even with the invite, even to be on the show with the other contestants from Cycle 5, because it had just aired and I'm getting torn a new asshole, and I realized that they made me look crazy, but nobody knows that they were weaponizing my trauma behind the scenes the entire time. So when the producer calls me and tells me that they want me to talk about my childhood trauma on the show, I said, absolutely not. How dare you even ask me? Absolutely not. I have not had therapy, and I'm dealing with a really hard time right now because of Top Model. And so I always put a smile on my face, but I was really, really struggling. Before Top Model, I want you to know that I was with a modeling agency. I was booking 2 jobs a month, an extra grand, 2 grand, 3 grand, 4 grand a month. I had a side hustle, which was a waitress, but I was working. I was doing the fashion weeks. I mean, my hair was dark and it was growing out, if you remember from Cycle 5. That was from me going on tour for like months with Sebastian's hair, and they would do all these like really cool bald zipper head like creations. So now entering the world in this public arena and not booking gigs that I normally would have was really devastating for me. So I said no. I said I would go on just to be on the show with the rest of the cast, and then after that I was not going to do a private interview on her show unless we just talked about makeup and talked about top model. I refused to talk about my childhood trauma. Refused. In case anyone's wondering, I was sexually abused from the time I was in 3rd grade all the way to 7th by my mom's boyfriend, while she also physically abused me on the daily. And I had to hide her eating disorder, which is incredibly devastating as a child. Offered me $700 to do this interview about my childhood trauma. I said, absolutely not. Top model, I thought that when they did the psychological evaluation that you guys were gonna like help me. I didn't think that me exposing all my trauma was gonna be used against me. That shit's fucked up. With this nice red lip. I'm gonna try to say this without a million different parts. Okay, so a producer from Top Model calls me and says, hey Lisa, the segment for your private interview and your guys' episode for Cycle 5 reunion is coming, and I wanted to talk to you about your interview. And I said, okay. And they said, we really want you to talk about your childhood trauma. We think it's very important for you to pay it forward so that other people can learn from you. And I was like, no, I already said that I'm not going to talk about my childhood trauma on the show. And it's really offensive now that you guys keep asking me, because I'm dealing with that right now. I have not had any therapy, and Top Model airing has made my life so much worse. So no. Cut to like a week before the show is about to tape. Hey Lisa, this is, I know you talked to like, I don't know, Mary. Now this is Tom. And we're calling from the Tyra Show, and I wanted to talk to you about your private interview with Tyra. Sure. We really think it's important that you talk about your childhood trauma. And I was like, I refuse to do it. And they're like, okay, well, if you refuse to do it, then we might not be able to do the segment. And I was like, so we can't talk about me on the show. We can't talk about Fashion Week this year or you know, makeup or anything. No, we really think that you need to talk about your childhood trauma. And I was like, okay, well then cancel everything. And they're like, okay, so we won't have the car come. We won't have, you'll miss out on getting paid for that segment. And I was like, fine. Cut to, it's the day before filming for the Tyra Show. And it's like now a new person. Hey Lisa, this is another producer. We were all talking amongst ourselves, and you know, this is, you know, Susie. And I'm just circling back with you, giving you one last try to see if you will talk about your childhood trauma with Tyra on the Tyra Show. And I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is offensive. I was like, they're like, but it films tomorrow and you can make $700. And I was like, nope, won't do it. They're like, okay, so we'll cancel the car. I'm like, cancel the car. That's fine. I don't care. Then it's the night before, and they go, Lisa, they call me again. Lisa, we want you to know that like Tyra agrees. We won't talk about your childhood trauma, and we'll just we'll talk about fashion and makeup and like your favorite styles and Top Model, you on the show. I was like, great, that sounds great. And they're like, okay, so we'll just schedule the car to come back and we'll see you tomorrow. And I was like, great, okay. When you've got a little mole there, but you want to make it a little darker. Car picks me up. I show up at the Tyra Show. I see some of the other girls from my season. I say hello. I even said hello to Corinne, who was the person that I fought with on the show. But her and I realize now and have made up that this show is just horseshit. America's Next Top Model is just horseshit. We don't know about the Tyra Show just yet. I already have my feelings, as you can tell. And I go into makeup. And they tell me that my segment is going to start in like an hour. So they're doing my makeup, and then while I'm almost done with my makeup, I hear a PA talk to another PA like on their walkies and goes, put Corinne's dad in room like whatever. I immediately freaked out because me hearing that made me so sad for Corinne, because the one person that has hurt her the most in her life was her dad. from our cycle, from Top Model. I knew that. So I'm done with makeup. They're starting to walk me towards the green room and towards the front, and my segment is about to start, and I see Corinne in the green room, and I'm like, Corinne, they brought your dad here. And I'm trying to warn her. And I remember looking at her, and I'm seeing her over there in the green room, and I'm seeing there's a teleprompter. They're lining me up to go in front of the live studio audience. I see a teleprompter, and I see that they're like making sure that it's like moved away from me. I can tell they're like tilting it the other way. I'm looking at Corinne, and she's talking to somebody in the green room at the same time, and I can see her rolling her eyes and thinking that I'm trying to like ruin her life, like if I made that up, and now she's like mad at me again. And then as soon they line me up, and they're like, okay, count to 3 and you go out. The teleprompter, it starts highlighting, and it goes, everyone, this is Lisa from Cycle 5 of Top Model. Everyone knows her as being the fun wild child, but what you don't know is that she was sexually molested her entire childhood. They pushed me out into a live studio audience. I remember feeling like an outer body experience, and I think I went into like fight or flight. And when I walked out onto set, I just remember like the audience was looking at me so crazy. I was devastated. I went to the front where Tyra's just sitting there on her stupid fucking couch, and I grabbed the pillows and I started throwing at her. I was throwing them at the audience. I was telling everyone to fuck off. I was grabbing the cameras, like the ones that are between the aisles of a talk show. I was grabbing me like, fuck you guys. I went bananas, like fucking irate. I lost my mind. If there were chairs that I could actually like pick up and throw, I would have thrown them at the walls, not to hurt people. And then right after that, they grabbed me and locked me in a closet. They locked me in a closet. I'm gonna put on my little cute earrings. So I remember, yeah, it was 2 men, one, like both PAs. One was like a little gay guy. I remember he was wearing like one of those like lime green studded belts, remember back then? And I trusted him because he was so nice to me from the very beginning when I got there. And then he's like, here, just walk in here. And he locked me in the closet. I was banging. I'm like, here, you can't lock me in a fucking closet. I was so pissed. From my understanding, they then went on they left my segment, and they immediately went to Corinne's segment. And I think, I don't know what happened with her segment, but they did bring out her dad to her. And then after that was over, however long that took, and how long they locked me in a fucking closet, which is actually called kidnapping against my will, they brought me out, and they said, Lisa, we promise. They brought me food, they brought me water, they calmed me down. I was so upset. And they said, Tyra says that she will just talk to you about you on the show, and like makeup and fashion. And you know, it's the saddest thing. It was, I was like, well, I've already been put through all of this, so if I say no, then I don't get the $700. So I went on, acted normal. The audience must have thought I was crazy. But then I went and just talked to her about Top Model, and then the car drove me home, and that was it. I remember I went back home to my apartment. It was like 3 o'clock like PM, and I opened a can of soup and I ate it. That's what I did. The reason I went back on All Stars is because by then I had had so much therapy, and I had found so much love in my life that I came back for revenge, and to fight for my own integrity and my own persona in the public arena, and show people who I really was. And I definitely wanted to also show that nobody could ever do that to me again. And definitely no one could hurt me again the way that she had. And on All Stars too, they lied a ton too. That was another thing. I was totally adamant not to go on that show, on the All Stars, but I knew that they couldn't hurt me anymore because I had so much therapy. And yet they still did. They still found their ways to do it. They told me I could go home whenever I wanted. They were fucking liars. But I won. And that's a fact.